Now, just like any ordinary science, we always want to make sure that we have a control and we actually have our samples. So we always make sure that we have a control. And just for the sake of time, we put our control in our pressure tube here. So our control is in here, and then we put it in our cap. And the control and the pressure cap actually has our little stabilizer wheel for the actual control vessel. So we put our control vessel in, and you should hear like something like a snap or something, just so that you know that it's in. And I turn my cap. After I do that, I screw it all the way down, just to make sure that it is in the tube correctly. Turn it around, and if you see this little notch here, this little notch, we want to make sure we put this little notch right here into our control vessel notch on our plate. So once again, this notch is going into our control notch on our plate. So we put our control notch, put it in our control nut, and it should sit right now. So that's the basics with getting our vessels into the plate. Now, since this is our control, we always want to make sure we are having the correct, adding the right amount of temperature and pressure according to our method. So we have what we call our temperature gauge here, so we can know the temperature of our actual sample, both the control and the sample that we're recording, or that we're digesting, excuse me. And so this piece right here, the top of the temperature gauge, actually goes into the top of our microwave. So once again, we see our little notch hanging down right here. We put this little piece, the piece with the white, we put it in the notch. Make sure that it's firm up in there. We don't want to yank it because we want to make sure we're being careful with all of our utensils. And then the other end we stick into the top hole of our control. After we do that, we get our pressure sensor here. We have our pressure sensor here. Now, this part of the pressure sensor goes into this tube here. So we just kind of put it in there. And we want to make sure that it's up there pretty firm. And then the other piece goes, this piece goes right here on our control. So we put the piece, and once again, we want to make sure we screw it up there securely. And then upon completing that, we want to make sure that we secure the tube. So there's a little piece up here that secures the tube. And we just put our tube in there. Make sure that your temperature cord is free of the tube, so you want to make sure that they're not tangled. And after that, we're now ready to load our sample that's to be digested. So after we put our sample in our sample holder, we put it into the pressure holder. Then just like we did with our control, we put our cap on, and we put our brown pressure cap on. What this allows it to do is that if too much pressure is normally built up into this system, it would allow it to raise a little bit and then come back down and seal if it's too much pressure or if it's over pressurized. So after we do that, we always want our blue cap either sticking out that way or this way, our pressure cap, because we don't want it stuck in between the two. And then we put our sample in, just like we did with the control. And then our screw at the top, our pressure screw, which is at the top, we always want to make sure that it's up before we put in our sample or our control in, and then we screw it down. And we screw it down so it's secure. And then we put our sample in. And we can have up to 14 samples ready to be digested. Now the next thing that I do want to make sure, we want to make sure that our plate is able to rotate all the way around without getting too tangled in the course, because we don't want to break anything. So I come back up to my rotate button and I press my button just to make sure that it can rotate. And as you can see that our cord had came out of our tube, so what I'm going to do is stop it, put my cord back in, put my cord back in, and then try it again and see if it works better. And we see that my pressure cord is still in there. It went around once and it's going the other way. And it came out again, so you just have to make sure that that we have our cord in there properly.